Look, this isn't just about some old poetry. We're talking about a full-blown cultural revolution, one that basically ripped up the rulebook and decided, you know what, we're going to lead with the heart. So today, we're diving into British Romanticism.
All right, let's start with a bit of a puzzle. What in the world connects Frankenstein's monster, the modern anti-hero we see everywhere, and the French Revolution? I mean, seriously, what could possibly link a monster made of corpses, a moody, brooding hero, and one of the most violent political upheavals in history? They seem completely worlds apart, right? But believe it or not, they're all children of the same passionate, chaotic, and pretty brilliant movement.
And the answer, you guessed it, is Romanticism. Now, this wasn't just some new artistic style. No, it was a radical shift in how people saw everything. It popped up right around the time of the French Revolution, and it was a direct, in-your-face rebellion against the Enlightenment's obsession with logic and order. The Romantics were like, forget that. They argued that our feelings, our intuition, the sheer wildness of our imagination, that's what's really true. That's our best guide to what it means to be human.
So how'd they do it? What were the new rules for art and life? Well, let's break down what I like to call the Romantic playbook.
Okay, so we can basically boil this whole movement down to 4 key pillars. First up, they put the individual ego on a pedestal. The idea was that your personal feelings, your gut instincts, determined what was right and wrong. Then, they absolutely worshipped nature. They saw it as this divine force, like a direct line to God. Third, they totally idealized the past, especially the medieval age, with all the castles and knights and folklore. And finally, they went all in on the supernatural. We're talking ghosts, demons, the occult. All of it became this powerful new way to explore the darker corners of the human mind.
And that whole reverence for nature thing, it's captured perfectly in this line from William Wordsworth. He says that even the meanest flower that blows, like the most humble little flower, could spark these profound emotions that are just too deep for words. See, for a romantic, nature wasn't just pretty scenery. It was a source of real spiritual truth.
So, who were the champions of this new code? Who were the ones carrying this torch into the world? Well, the movement was really driven by 2 different generations of poets, and each had its own unique flavor of rebellion.
Okay, so you've got the first wave. This is your Wordsworth and Coleridge. They were the idealists, right? They were inspired by the early promise of the French Revolution, liberty, equality, all that good stuff. Their work had this sense of hope, focusing on the beauty of nature and the common person. But the second wave, whoa, they were a whole other story. We're talking Lord Byron, Percy Shelley, and John Keats. They came of age after the revolution had turned into a total bloodbath, so they were disillusioned, they were scandalous, they were intense. They channeled all that energy into these incredible works of passionate rebellion and tragedy.
And listen, these guys didn't just write about intensity, they lived it. The second wave were the original rock stars. Seriously, they embodied that whole live fast, die young thing long before it was a cliche. Just look at this. Keats, Shelley, Byron, all of them died tragically young. And in doing so, they basically cemented their own legends as these tortured revolutionary artists.
But Romanticism was way bigger than just poetry. Its ideas soon exploded into popular fiction, creating entire genres that, let's be honest, we still love to read today.
So first up, you get Gothic fiction. I mean, think about it. Dark, crumbling castles, secret passages, that creeping sense of supernatural dread. And of course, the ultimate example is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's a terrifying story for sure, but it's also a deeply romantic warning about the dangers of science without a conscience, about what happens when we try to play God.
Then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you get the historical novel, which was pretty much pioneered by Sir Walter Scott. Instead of all that dark horror, these were just thrilling adventures set in this super romanticized version of the past. A book like Ivanhoe, with its noble knights and daring quests, that just perfectly captures the romantic nostalgia for a time they saw as more chivalrous and glorious.
But sometimes to really understand what something is, you have to understand what it isn't. And that's where Jane Austen comes in. She was writing at the exact same time, but she is the great exception here. Her novels are absolutely brilliant, but they're all about social order, reason, and finding a good husband. Basically, the very things the Romantics were rebelling against. Let's just say you're not going to find any supernatural monsters or epic medieval quests in Pride and Prejudice.
Okay, so this all happened, 200 years ago? Why should any of us care today? Well, because the echoes of this rebellion are absolutely everywhere in our culture.
I mean, just think about it. That modern anti-hero you see in every other movie, the moody, charismatic guy with a dark past, that's a direct descendant of Lord Byron's Byronic hero. The whole idea of the tortured artist who suffers for their work, that's pure Romanticism.
Our obsession today with self-expression and being an individual? Yep, that's romantic. The way we escape to the mountains or the beach to find ourselves? Also romantic. Even the birth of science fiction with Frankenstein, all of it can be traced right back to this movement. It literally shaped how we think about ourselves today.
And that kind of leaves us with one last question, doesn't it? In our world, which is so driven by algorithms and data and just relentless logic, have we maybe lost touch with that essential, emotional part of ourselves? You have to wonder. Maybe what the Romantics were all about, imagination, feeling, a little bit of healthy rebellion, is exactly what we need right now. What do you think?